What's going on, guys? Welcome back to We Want Picks. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckled Salamander, here to bring you my quick pick video for UFC 299. I cannot wait for this card. It is stacked from top to bottom, from bottom to top. I am a power bottom. Whoa. But before we get into this full card breakdown, make sure you go to WeWantPicks.com. Support the channel. It's only $10 a month. What do we do? $10 a month? We're not talking $10 a week. We're not talking $10 about $10 a month, $2.50 a card. It's well worth all the value. WeWantPicks.com. Consider becoming a premium member today. Make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you are new. We just hit 22,000 subscribers. We're getting over 1,000 new subscribers a month. Almost 300,000 views a month. Let's get right into it. The quick pick video for UFC 299. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. First up, we got Joanne Wood versus, is it Maryna? I think it's Maryna Moroz. And I gotta say, some of the nicest legs I've ever seen in my life. I was talking about Vitor Petrino last week. Moroz. This is definitely an interesting fight to start off this card. I think it's probably going to be boring. Moroz is the favorite, minus 200, minus 230. Honestly, in my mind, I think that is the worst value on the card, because if she cannot get the takedowns, which I don't know if she is going to get the takedowns versus Joanne Wood, this is a 50-50 fight in my opinion. Moroz is definitely a good striker, but it's a lot of empty strikes. It's a lot of and she is missing. And if it comes down to Moroz not getting the takedowns, and this is a 1-1 fight or a close fight going into the third round, you saw Joanne Wood put up or shut up in her last fight. She pushed the pressure. I think she threw over 100 strikes in the third round against Luana Carolina. I trust Joanne Wood in the third round if it is going to be a 1-1 fight, but I do believe that Moroz is going to be in her face, is going to look like the cleaner striker to the judges, and is going to be able to get a takedown or two in these situations, because Joanne Wood's a Muay Thai striker. She does like to clinch, and when you're clinching against somebody that likes to get takedowns, I think eventually she's going to get one of those takedowns. Joanne Wood now, 37, 38 years old, so, you know, I'm not playing Moroz. Minus 200, minus 230, something like that. Maybe like a Moroz by points, maybe like an outside flyer Moroz by submission or something like that, but I'm going Moroz here as my pick. I'm staying away from it. There's plenty other spots on this card. Let's move on to the next one. CJ versus Asu. Is it Asu? Asu Almabaev. We'll call him Asu. CJ versus Asu. Asu obviously is what he is. He is the next prospect here at 125. Another one of these relentless grappler type dudes, and that's exactly what he wants to do. I'll be honest. Minus 400, minus 450 for Asu. I played it. Not straight up played. I have him in a parlay. I do worry. CJ's not a bum, guys. I know that Asu is a good dude, and he's relentless with the takedown. He's got good takedowns, and once he gets on top of people, he's got great control. But this dude, CJ, is a hard dude to take down. And if Asu starts getting a little bit desperate with these takedowns, I think it might be time to panic a little bit, because his striking is not great. He gets a little bit wild. He will just throw wild overhand rights or overhand lefts just to get to the takedowns. And if those takedowns don't work, and he has to rely on his striking, I think CJ's the better striker. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I am going to pick Asu. I do have money on Asu, but CJ's a tough dude. He's not a bum. You saw him sweep and reverse Tatsuro Taira. He had an arm triangle from the bottom that he swept Taira with and got into I think it was almost a full mount position. So CJ's not a bum. There definitely could be a weird situation here where if CJ's stuffing takedowns, this and that, but I believe Asu is going to be so relentless. Eventually, he's going to get the takedown, get the top control, maybe not find the submission, but he should be able to do enough to win this fight. I'm confident in him, but CJ's not a bum. So that minus 450 is a little bit to be desired. Let's move on to the next one. Robelis versus Josh Parisian. And this one should be pretty cut and dry, right? The UFC is bringing Robelis in. If you guys don't know, he is a monster of a man. A Taekwondo, I don't think he was a gold medalist, like a bronze medalist, but I mean, he's just a Taekwondo striker. If you guys don't know the Taekwondo strikers, that's like a Yair, right? Like a Michael Venom Page, like a Natalia Silva, right? These very high-level dynamic strikers, and they brought Josh Parisian in because he is a flat-footed striker that's not going to try to wrestle this guy. He's going to be standing right in front of him, and this dude Robelis has, I think, a total of like 30 seconds of fight time, something like that. So weird things could happen here, but this dude Robelis, if you are who you say you are, you're coming to the UFC. This dude Josh Parisian is going to be fat, standing in front of you, so you should be able to light him up and do what you need to do. He is going to be my pick. I'm not going to doubt him until he starts working into like a little bit of the more advanced heavyweights and a little bit more dynamic. Josh is a tough dude. You know, maybe he could eat a couple shots and maybe get in a clinch. If you're Josh, you got to get in the clinch. You got to hold this guy. You got to wear him down as quick as you can. But in space, I like Robelis to get it done, what he should get done in this fight. It should be flashy if he does, and we'll see if it plays out. I am going Robelis. Let's move on to the next one. Philipe Lins versus Jan Cutelaba. I think it's actually Jan Cutelaba, the Hulk, versus Philipe Lins. Philipe Lins is like 38, 39 years old. Looks fantastic, by the way. At 205, has had some really, really nice success. I do worry about Philipe in this fight because what Philipe wants to do is kind of do blitz and striking to get to a clinch. And he wants to hold you against the cage and eventually drag you down. And if this fight extends and he's able to do that, he will be able to win this fight. But Cutelaba is definitely dialed back the craziness. He came in trying to knock out everyone, thinking he's just the biggest, toughest guy in the world. You saw in his last fight versus Tanner Boser, dialed in, right? He was very patient, he was waiting for that knockout shot to find itself. And if he does that in this fight versus Philipe Lins, I think that is going to happen. If you let the opportunity present itself, Philipe Lins in the pocket will swing wild, hands low, chin exposed. Cutelaba should be able to find it. The thing I worry about a little bit with Philipe, or with Cutelaba, is even against Tanner Boser, he hurt the dude and then he shot a takedown. This guy is a wrestler at his heart, at his core. If you hurt this guy, Philipe, you don't want to go to the ground with Philipe. That's where he's going to be most comfortable. And if you hurt him, just fucking knock him out. So I like Cutelaba here. He's definitely a hard guy to trust. He was more dialed in versus Tanner Boser in his last fight. Let's see if he can do it back-to-back fights. I believe Philipe is going to be hittable, and Cutelaba is going to be able to hit this guy. So I like Cutelaba. Let's move on to the next one. Michel Pereira versus Michał. I think it's Michał. Oleksiejczuk. Michel versus Michał. And listen, if you looked at both of these guys, you would think that Michał is like that third round grindy decision type fighter, and Michel Pereira was this like knockout guy in the first round, but they're actually opposite people. And for that reason, I like Michel Pereira in this fight. You saw Michał come in against Chito and was getting lit the fuck up, right? And Chito is a very long, rangy, dynamic striker, much like Michel Pereira. And Michał was having issues walking him down with those front kicks, walking him down. He was having issues finding a guy like Chito, and Chito actually hurt him as well. He fucking cracked this dude. And Michał's a tough dude, and he was able to withstand that, found a power shot on Chito once Chito got a little bit more flat-footed. Michel Pereira is such a hard guy to track down. He is bouncing, he is left, he is right, and Michał, in that tracking down of Michel Pereira, I think is going to have issues. I think he's won one fight. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I don't have any notes. I just do this. I'm not Angelo, people. I do this off the top of my fucking head. I got the Tapology here, and that's it. So I think he's won one fight outside of the third round in like his last like 8 wins or something like that. The guy really hasn't seen second or third rounds. Michel Pereira, give him credit, has won decisions. He's kind of dialed back the craziest. We were just talking about Ian Cutelaba dialing back the craziness. Michel has done that. I believe Michel Pereira is going to dance around, get to the second round, and that's where he's really going to start finding those shots. I don't think that Michał can track this guy down. He is tough, and we'll see if Michel can put him away, but I am going Michel Pereira. I think the movement's going to be too much for kind of a brawling, tracking style of Michał, so I'm going Michel Pereira here. Let's move on to the next one. Pedro Munhoz versus Phillips. And I love Phillips, man. The Matrix. He's a former lock of the week. I was on Phillips years ago before anyone knew who Phillips was. He is a fun, dynamic dude, and he is going to look flashy. He is going to look fantastic. He is going to be shooting takedowns. He might land a shot or two in the first round. But this dude slows down. There's no doubt about that. You watch any fight he's ever had, And this dude, Phillips, slows down. And I'm not talking about halfway through the second round. I'm not talking about halfway through the third round. I'm talking towards the end of the first round. At the start of the second round, if you watch all of his fights, this whole dynamic boom, boom, with the spinning stuff and the wheels and this and the dynamic, the takedowns, he starts slowing down. And if there's one thing I know about Pedro Munhoz, vote for Pedro, is that this dude is not going to slow down. What I will say about this fight, if Phillips loses the first round, if Pedro is able to match the intensity and do a little bit more damage and stuff the takedowns, which I believe he's going to stuff the takedowns, and this turns into just a striking match between Kyler and Pedro. If Pedro's able to sneak out the first round and Kyler loses the first round, Kyler's not going to win this fight. Kyler is a dangerous, dynamic guy in the first round, but he turns into kind of a basic dude second round, third rounds. I believe Lucky Tim in the Discord said Phillips has never had a third round scored for him, and Pedro has never been finished. So, long story short, I think Kyler's going to look flashy and good in the first round, but I think Pedro's going to pick up the pace, pick up the intensity. He knows this kid slows down. You saw Pedro in his last fight. I thought he lost that fight to Chito. I watched it back the other day, but he was going toe-to-toe with Chito. That jab of Chito was really eating him alive. Kyler doesn't have a jab like Chito. I think Pedro's going to wear on this kid, win the second round, win the third round, could even wear him down enough to maybe find a finish in the second or third round. I like Pedro Munhoz in this fight. I fully respect Phillips. I don't think he's going to be able to have the wrestling. And when Kyler gets tired, he needs the wrestling. That's very important here. When he gets tired, you can hear my dog in the background eating. I appreciate that with a noise distraction. Knock it off, buddy! If Kyler does not have the wrestling, if he can't get the takedowns in the second or third round, that's how he likes to rest. Pedro's going to be in his face. Pedro's going to be all over him. And it's going to be tough for Kyler to score because he's not active enough. He's going to be moving backwards second and third round. So I'm taking the young Punisher, Pedro Munhoz, in this fight. Let's move on to the next one. Gamrot versus RDA. This one should be straightforward, man. RDA is a legend. I think he's got the most fight time ever in the UFC by a large margin. Coming back down now again to 155, where he was a former champion. Gamrot's too relentless. I mean, he is just too relentless. And I know Gamrot has gotten dropped in the past, and I've been very high on Gamrot. I've been very low on Gamrot against Fiziev. Fiziev, I thought was going to destroy Gamrot, blew out his knee. I think Fiziev would have. But RDA doesn't have the striking as Fiziev. He definitely doesn't have the takedown defense later on in his career. And even if you have takedown defense against Gamrot, he doesn't give a fuck. This dude is nonstop. I mean, the scrambles that he has is unreal. He will just keep going and going and going. And I know that people, especially the judges, don't really like when people are not getting the takedowns, but they don't like when you're not getting takedowns when you're attempting a takedown and you're just holding a guy. Gamrot isn't shooting takedowns, not getting him and holding him. He is chaining and chaining and chaining. He is nonstop. The odds are for a reason. I do like Gamrot in this matchup. I just don't think RDA is as dangerous enough anymore in the stand-up, and it's getting a little bit lackluster in the takedown defense. So Gamrot's going to be all over him. I am Gamrot in this matchup. Let's move on to the next one. Katlyn, and I apparently changed her name from Chookagian to try and trick us like we don't know this is Katlyn. Katlyn Serminara, Karamarmanara, Seminara. I don't know what her last name is now, but Katlyn Chookagian versus Maycee Barber. And these are probably my least favorite 125ers on planet Earth. I will say this, they both have fought Amanda Ribas, my girl Amanda Ribas. If you guys didn't know, I went to UFC 285, met Amanda Ribas. I'll be at the Apex in a few weeks, in a couple weeks here actually, sitting front row to watch Amanda Ribas absolutely destroy Rose Namajunas. Both these girls beat Amanda Ribas, right? Maycee actually did it in the right way. Was getting ragdolled a little bit in the first round. Ribas chases a little bit of a leg lock, gets her face beat in, gets ragdolled again in the second round, and Maycee ends up finding, I guess, a TKO. A little bit of an early stoppage. I thought Ribas was going to be fine in that situation. Tough girl. Beautiful girl. There's no doubt about that. But Maycee was able to beat Amanda Ribas. Katlyn also fought Amanda Ribas. Amanda Ribas was dragging her ass to the ground too. And Katlyn did not beat Amanda Ribas. That was one of the worst decisions I have ever seen. Long story short here, to break down this fight specifically, Maycee, I believe, is just going to be way too relentless. She is kind of a killer. And Katlyn, the reason I fucking hate her is because she just stands at range. She's not even landing strikes. And the corner's like, and she's like, and the corner's like, it drives me fucking insane. I believe that Maycee's going to be in her face, pushing the pace, pushing the pressure. It's probably going to be a close fight, guys. Both of these girls have had wild split decisions in their favors. We'll see who the judges like more. But I think Maycee is going to be in her face, maybe be able to get a takedown or two. It's going to be tough. I wouldn't force the wrestling, but be in her face, be the aggressor, and that is what's going to win you the fight. Pace, pressure, octagon control, because the striking is going to be pretty even probably. Katlyn's a big, long girl, knows how to keep range, but Maycee should be relentless enough. I'm going to stay away from it. I don't love Maycee at whatever it is, minus 180, minus 200, something like that. I mean, I can't stand both these girls. You know, I do have a little bit more respect for Maycee these days. She is going to be my pick. Let's move on to the next one. Curtis Blaydes versus Asu Almabaev, and I've been screaming for the last year and a half that Asu Almabaev is a fucking fraud. And I said when this fight was lined up in the fall that Curtis Blaydes was going to expose this man. He was like a plus 180, something like that. I was going to be all over those odds for Curtis Blaydes in this match, because Asu is a 205er that has found success wrestling heavyweights that don't know how to wrestle, and hats off to him for it, right? He's a big physical guy. He uses that. Not a ton of striking, but he has enough striking to get to those takedowns, and he has been very good at what he does. Curtis Blaydes is a big motherfucker. This dude is all of 265, and this dude knows how to wrestle. But at even money, at minus 130, I can't trust Curtis Blaydes, right? I'm not putting favorite money on a guy like Curtis Blaydes. I think he's going to have the striking advantage. I think he can do enough in the wrestling to withstand the takedowns. And if he gets on top, Asu's going to see a whole nother world of a big-ass motherfucker on top of him. I mean, Curtis Blaydes is going to be 280 in there on top of this 205 or Asu Almabaev, who's, I mean, Curtis Blaydes is probably going to have a 40-pound weight advantage in there. There's a reason why weight classes exist when two people are wrestling, when two people are grappling, and they're very evenly matched. With obviously Asu's a better grappler, I think Curtis Blaydes can be a better wrestler. It's kind of evened out. Weight becomes an issue. Weight becomes an issue. So, long story short, I've been screaming forever that Asu Almabaev is a fraud. I believe that Curtis Blaydes would have exposed him in the fall, but I also think that that was a nice wake-up call for Asu versus Derek Lewis to say, listen, maybe I'm not quite as dominant as I am. I'm surprised that Curtis Blaydes has moved to a favorite because of that matchup. I am picking Curtis Blaydes more from my hate for Asu than my love for Curtis Blaydes, but I think he's just going to be a bigger guy in the wrestling, is definitely the better striker, and if this turns into a striking match, Curtis Blaydes should have the advantage, but I'm not playing minus money or even money for Curtis Blaydes. I don't trust him enough for that reason, and it's probably better if Asu comes in and smokes this guy. Curtis Blaydes is my pick, long story short. I'm staying away from it, unfortunately. Let's move on. Vergara versus Song Yadong. I love Song Yadong, man. If there's something I love more than anything in this world, it is Yadong. I love this kid. He is very, very good, and the thing that I love the most about Song Yadong is he's at Team Alpha Male, and Uriah has really set this kid up nice, man. Uriah, every time you see Song Yadong in a fight, he is a different fighter because Uriah Hall has game plans for him for every single fight. Sometimes he's aggressive, sometimes he's counter-striking, sometimes he's wrestling, sometimes it is crazy the game plans that he sets up. And I do like Song Yadong in this matchup. Pereira, a lot of people give him, shit for all these losses, right? Very high level losses. It's not like he's getting completely smoked. In a couple fights, he's looked a little bit uninterested, I guess, but he still is a very high level, high talented dude. I believe that Uriah is going to have a game plan for him. And in a 3-round fight, there is no doubt in my mind that Song Yadong is going to win that first round. And even in that first round, I believe that he can hurt Petr Yan. Petr Yan has that high guard. He will sit there high guard. I believe Song Yadong has the power to split that guard and really bust this dude up. And once you're playing from behind, I know typically Petr Yan can play from behind and catch back up in like a 5-round fight. 3 rounds, I don't see him catching up. I think he drops the first round. Song is doing enough in the second round. And now all of a sudden you need to finish, and Petr Yan really isn't a finishing type guy. He's a technical striker that has a little bit of wrestling. He's got some sneaky trips and stuff like that, but I think Song Yadong is to be more than enough ready. I don't know if that made sense, but Uriah's going to be saying, listen, let's win the first round. Win the first round, and we're going to be good. We're going to be set up. If Petr Yan is trying to catch up, play from behind, I don't think he's going to be able to against a guy like Song Yadong. Song Yadong is not going to slow down. He's a tough guy. He can eat a shot. And if it turns into a brawl, and Song Yadong turns into a brawl, I think he's got the power advantage and could hurt Petr Yan. Petr Yan's definitely the more technical guy, but Song may be able to mix in a takedown of his own. Wrestling, striking, I'm all over Song Yadong in this matchup. I got him plus 130, whatever it was. I think it's even money now. WeWantPicks.com. Become a premium member today to get that value. Speaking of value, let's move on to the next one. Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. And I'm going to sit here right now, and let me preface this by saying I have no hate in my heart for Gilbert Burns. Everyone loves Gilbert Burns, right? Gilbert Burns seems like the greatest dude in the world. Great dad, great ambassador. I mean, every time you see him, he's smiling, he's bubbly, he works hard. You can tell this guy works his fucking ass off. It's such a shame that he blew out his shoulder, 37 years old, when I really liked him in that matchup, but I'm going to say this right now, and this is going to get a lot of blowback, and you leave a comment if you disagree. Jack Della Maddalena is the best 170-pound fighter on planet Earth. I said it. I don't give a fuck about Leon Edwards. I don't give a fuck about Bilal Muhammad. I don't give a fuck about Ian Gary. I don't give a fuck about Shavkat, whatever the fuck his name is. Jack Della Maddalena is the best 170er on the planet. Oh my God, he was taken down by Basel. He went to a split decision with Basel. Defended 17 fucking takedowns versus Basel after JDM had to cut weight twice in 2 weeks. Only took himself down pulling guillotines because he was like, you know what, I'm a little bit bored. Let me chase his submission here, see if I can get a couple of those on my record. Realized it wasn't working. Once he started not pulling guillotine and defending the takedowns, was just lighting this dude up. Basil's a fucking tough motherfucker. Big ass dude. A big, physical, actual wrestler. Trains at Elevation Gate. All those guys. Physical, big physical wrestling. That's what he does. And he still defended 17 of those takedowns. Now you're talking about, oh my God, he went to a split. I thought he lost to Kevin Holland. Well, you're fucking stupid, because that was just an easy peasy sparring match for Jack Della Maddalena versus Kevin Holland. Just walking him down, pop, 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 touch, touch, whoop, whoop, combo, pop, pop, pop. The best boxer in the UFC has the takedown defense against a guy like Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is a small guy with not much wrestling. I understand he's a high-level grappler. When have you ever seen Gilbert Burns actually use very high-level grappling when it's not fucking Steven Wonderboy Thompson? It's been a while, because he can't get the fights. He can't trust his wrestling to get to the grappling. If he had wrestling to go with his high-level grappling, to go with his power, he would be a world champion, but he doesn't, and that's why he strikes. And in the striking, he's got nothing for Jack Della Maddalena. This dude, Gilbert Burns, is getting put down by jabs. One of the best jabs in the UFC is JDM. He's going to be bobbing. He's going to be weaving. He's going to shrug off all those nonsense takedown attempts from Gilbert Burns, and he is going to dominate this fight from bell to bell. Maybe even find a finish. Jack Della Maddalena is the best 170er on the planet, and you guys are going to realize that in the next year as he gets more matchups. I'm going JDM in this matchup. Let's move on to the next one. Kevin Holland versus MVP. And I understand the MVP's this flashy dude, this Taekwondo dude that we referenced before. What is he, 21-2, coming in, smoking everyone's got all these flashy knockouts, right? Kevin Holland, in my mind, is going to be locked in. I think he's going to be locked in. He's heard the noise, right? People are coming in being like, oh my God, MVP is basically a better version of Kevin Holland. A long, rangy guy, but a little bit more dynamic, right? A little bit more powerful. All these flashy knockouts, all this and that. Kevin Holland's heard the noise, right? I think Kevin Holland's going to be locked in. And if Kevin Holland's locked in, as durable and as tough as this dude is, I believe that Kevin Holland is going to win this fight with durability, with able to withstand an MVP with all that flashy stuff. I think it's going to be a lot of this. MVP, flashy stuff, Kevin Holland dodging it and being like, dodging it and being like, looking at the judges like, are you seeing this? And then bam, with a nice shot down the pipe, a nice little jab here and there. It's probably going to be a decision fight. It could be a close decision, but in a decision fight, I trust the chin, the durability, and the give a fuck in Kevin Holland in this fight. I do think he shows up. This is a big moment against a Bellator guy. He's not going to let a Bellator guy come in and smoke him. Probably a decision fight. Could be a weird decision, but I do like Kevin Holland to get it done basically just with tenacity, durability, and better competition. MVP really hasn't fought very many people, and he definitely has never fought anybody as durable and as long and rangy as him, like a Kevin Holland. So I'm going Kevin Holland here. I love Trailblazer, and let's move on to the co-main event. Main event time. We got Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis BSD, and I said, and I'm going to stick to my guns, that I am never going to pick against BSD ever again. So he is going to be my pick in this matchup. It's going to be very interesting to see his game plan. This is 5 rounds. Is BSD going to be that wild savage, or is he going to pace himself? And I believe there is a over-under round on this fight. It's a 5-round fight. The over 1.5 is -160. People believe that it is going to go over 1.5. I have money that it is going to go over 1.5. Not only because of the 5-round fight, but I do respect the toughness of a Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is going to be the better striker, right? I mean, he's a nice boxer. He's been around. Everyone knows who Dustin Poirier is. He's capable on the ground as well. Not great takedown defense, but he should be able to survive on the ground. And if this fight extends, obviously it's going to favor a guy like Dustin. And everyone expects BSD 5 rounds against a durable guy. Let me pace myself. Honestly, I don't think he's going to. I don't think he gives a fuck. I think he trusts himself, his ability to finish fights. I think he goes for it like he always does in the first round, goes after Dustin. And I think that he's not going to get Dustin out in the first round, but he is going to put that thought in Dustin's head, which you've already heard Dustin all this whole time, right? Leading up the months, the weeks, being like, I don't know when I'm going to be done, and this and that, and retirement, and I don't know, and I don't want to fight these young. And then all of a sudden, I believe he's going to hurt and wear down Dustin enough in the first round that Dustin is going to start having these thoughts, right? Remembering that head kick knockout, remembering getting finished, starting to think about retirement. And he's going to say to himself, you know what? I don't want to get knocked out again. I don't want to be in that situation where I'm laying lifeless on the floor. And I'm not going to say he's going to give up, but I believe that those takedowns and the doubt are going to get a little bit more intense. In those grappling exchanges, he's going to start, not quite giving it all right there. And BSD might be able to find something in the second round as far as the submission goes, because it's much nicer to get submitted than knocked out. And I think BSD could find that. So I'm on BSD here. That 1.5, I think is going to be real fucking close. I did play the over because I do respect the toughness of Dustin. And what I'm saying as far as mentality, I'm just fucking basically just making that up. I have no idea what's going through Dustin's head and stuff. He is a good fighter. He's probably the better fighter, but BSD is just so tough and so relentless. I do think he's going to get this done in the co-main event. He is going to be my pick. Let's move on to the main event. Time! We got Sugar, Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera. This is a rematch. And you know what I just found out, guys? I saw that Chito Vera had a TKO versus Sean O'Malley, and I'm like, wow, they're rematching. Surely he should be a favorite. But turns out, and I didn't know this, if you guys watched that fight, I guess what happened was Sean O'Malley kind of hurt his leg a little bit. And then because he hurt his leg, that's why he lost the fight. And I didn't know that. Nobody ever talks about it, right? People just talk about, oh, Chito knocked him out. But nobody ever mentions. You never hear Chito talking about, you never hear Sean, you never hear the UFC talking about. He actually had hurt his leg and his leg went numb in that fight. So in that fight, when his leg went numb, he went down, and it was more of like a doctor stoppage than anything else. So Chito did win the first matchup, but you guys might want to look into the situation because Sean actually did kind of hurt his leg in that matchup. So if you watch the UFC countdown, dude, they talk about the leg. Fucking, that's all. It's like a 40-minute show. 37 minutes of it is talking about Sean hurt his leg. He hurt his leg. It is absolutely insane. Listen, I like Sugar. I have no issues with Chito. Sugar is the better fighter. He's going to be the better fighter in this matchup. He's going to probably win the first round. He's probably going to win the second round. If he does not get Chito out of there, there is going to be some question marks. There's no more question marks anymore about Sean's toughness, right? Those were answered in the Petr Yan fight. That was kind of the biggest question mark for Sean O'Malley. He went down with the leg. He kind of turtled up. It looked like he kind of just gave up just because his ankle hurt. How is he going to respond in a tough fight? Against Petr Yan, he responded. People think he didn't win that fight, but he showed that he is a tough dude. But I know that Chito is going to be around for 5 rounds, or I expect him to be. I think this is going to be a decision fight. I think it's going to be a very close decision because I think Sean is going to win the first round, going to win the second round, or he should, right? He's been a lot more tentative in the past, but against Chito, he should be able to win the first, win the second with that point fighting. The issue here is, how is Sean going to react in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds? Because we still have not seen that. And I think Chito is going to be walking this dude down in the 3rd round, in the 4th round, in the 5th round. And it is going to be Sean dancing, doing his thing, pop shot, here's a jab, circle, 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 here's a jab, circle, circle, circle. And we're going to be able to see how the judges score this fight as far as octagon control, power, punishment, damage, volume, and it is going to be very interesting. So I'm staying away from this fight completely as far as right now. I get the argument for both sides, but even if you're on the Sean side, spending minus 300 money on Sean is like against somebody that's so durable, and Chito is just kind of a weird situation to me. So I get the value play on Chito people love. I think it goes to a decision. I believe it's going to be a split decision, something crazy, something weird. We could have like a 49-47 on both sides, and then it turns into something crazy. My pick is going to be Sean O'Malley. He is the better fighter. I think he's going to be up on the scorecards early and then be able to win a round or two later on as well. Chito just, if he comes in with that fire, Chito's going to be a tough dude. If he walks down Sean for fucking 5 rounds, it's gonna be very interesting. I can't wait for this card. I appreciate you guys staying with me for this full card breakdown. 14 fights. Like the video, subscribe if you are new. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckled Salamander, and I'm out. Peace.